How Mrs. Watanabe wished us well. In the upper floor studios of Carnegie Hall, which is where Mrs. Watanabe had us get ready for the show, there's a hallway with framed pictures and programs of some of the great dancers who have performed there over the years. As we walked down that hall on the way to change into our costumes, Mrs. Watanabe pointed to one of the photographs. It was a picture of the Duncan dancers, Isadora Duncan's daughters, posing very theatrically in long white tunics. It was dated November 3rd, 1923. Look, they're just like the three of you, she chirped happily. Let me take a picture of you girls in front of it, she said, pulling out her phone and aiming it toward us. The three of us instantly posed next to the picture, standing the same way the dancers were. Me on the left, hands in the air, facing right. Summer on the right, hands in the air, facing left. And Jimena in the middle, arms spread out in front of her, facing the camera. Mrs. Watanabe snapped several shots until she was content with one, and then the four of us, because Mrs. Watanabe was every bit as excited as we were tonight, giddily trotted to the back room to get into our costumes. We weren't the only ones performing tonight. The upper school jazz ensemble and the upper school chamber choir were already there. We could hear the sounds of trumpets and saxophones and other instruments echoing through the hallways, and the choir doing warm-ups in a large room next to the dressing room. Mrs. Watanabe helped us with our hair and makeup. It was so awesome how she transformed each of our hairstyles into big round bouffants with curled, flicked up ends, topped by a cloud of hairspray. Although we all had such different types of hair, Mrs. Watanabe somehow made us match perfectly. We were going on at last. It felt like such a long wait. We held hands the whole time and tried to talk ourselves out of being completely panicked. When it was finally time for us to go on, Mrs. Watanabe brought us downstairs to the backstage of the Stern Auditorium. We peeked through the curtains at the audience as the upper school chamber choir finished its last song. There were so many people. You couldn't make out anyone's face because it was so dark, but it was the biggest auditorium I had ever seen, with balconies and gilded arches and velvet walls. Mrs. Watanabe had us take our positions behind the curtains. Jimena in the middle, me on the left, Summer on the right. Then she faced us. "Girls, you've worked so hard," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. "I can't thank you enough for all the time you've put into making my piece come to life. Your energy, your enthusiasm." Her voice cracked. She wiped a tear away excitedly. If we hadn't read that article about her, we might not have understood why all this was so important to her, but we knew. We never told her we had found that article about her, that we knew about her childhood friend. We figured if she had wanted us to know, she would have told us. But knowing that little piece of her story somehow made the dance and everything leading up to it that much more special. Funny how all our stories kind of intertwine. Every person's story weaves in and out of someone else's story. "I'm just so proud of you girls," she whispered, kissing us each on our forehead. The audience was applauding the choir, which had just finished. As the singers streamed backstage through the wings, Mrs. Watanabe made her way around to the front of the stage to wait for Mr. Tushman to introduce her, and we took our positions. We could hear Mrs. Watanabe introducing the number that we were about to dance, and us. "This is it, guys," Jimena whispered to us as the curtain started to rise. We waited for the music to start. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's the Shingaling, baby! And that's it. I'll see you tomorrow.